Welcome to See You on the Other Side, where the world of the mysterious collides with the world of entertainment. A discussion of art, music, movies, spirituality, the weird, and self-discovery. And now, your hosts, musicians and entertainers who have their own weakness for the weird, Mike and Wendy from the band Sunspot.
I'm so jealous of you ladies getting to go to the Ghost Paracon Chicago Hauntings Dark Shores this weekend. You have fun?
Oh my gosh, Mike. You missed a good time.
So much fun.
And we missed you there.
And we're a little wrecked. We're a little wrecked for the podcast. I mean, you know how you get so jazzed and meeting all these cool people and everything?
Yeah.
And you can't sleep and then, you know, you drive all the way home and then at some point you just hit the wall.
That's all right.
Yeah.
But
And we were really jazzed because it was in that super haunted part of Chicago over on Archer Avenue by the Resurrection Cemetery where
Oh, yeah.
Resurrection Mary tries to get in, I guess.
Yeah.
So everybody was telling stories all night long and just all kinds of fun and frightening things.
Nice. I still have my Resurrection Mary button that we got at the Richard Crow Ghost Tour.
Oh,
I still have that
yeah.
on one of my old jean jackets.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that was
So
it was really cool to, you know, see Resurrection Cemetery, but also that the conference itself was in the Willowbrook Ballroom where Resurrection Mary had her last dance.
Sweet venue.
So, I mean,
and where there's going to be an Elvis impersonator in a few weeks.
Okay. So there's always a reason to go back to the Willowbrook Ballroom.
When the king's around.
And then
I want to go to that.
And then we, you know, had the party at Chet's Melody Lounge, and that was, you know, right across from Resurrection Cemetery.
Yeah. And we met a ton of people at our booth that we had. So I would like to give a shout out to anybody new listening that we met at the convention.
Yes. Thank you.
And then after, there was a little bit of time in between the conference and the party. So Allison and I explored the local area and discovered this brewery.
Yeah, the Miskatonic Brewing Company.
Oh, man. So named after Miskatonic University of H.P. Lovecraft fame.
Absolutely. And
yeah, so Allison saw that right away and we decided we had to go.
Yeah, because Wendy was like, oh, I think there's a cool brew pub around. And then she's looking it up and Miskatonic pops up. And I'm like, that must be the cool one.
And that's funny that, you know, the first time I ever heard of Miskatonic University was when they visited it on the real Ghostbusters.
Oh, yes, absolutely. One of our favorite cartoons, Mike.
The best.
But yeah, just you know, going there was a lot of fun because they have all kinds of H.P. Lovecraft stuff, a compendium of his stories. They have, you know, all kinds of murals on the wall of, you know, creatures from H.P. Lovecraft stories.
And I drank a beer called the Wicker Man.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
And there's like Cthulhu everywhere, of course.
And the Wicker Man, real quick, Wendy also sings a song from the Wicker Man in our Christopher Lee tribute episode. And I'm going to put that in the show notes.
Oh, dear.
Because Wendy sings Willow's song from the movie The Wicker Man in our Christopher Lee
scene.
Tribute. And that's a fun one.
Ooh, and I want to go back and listen to that now.
Yeah.
Because we had some good pagan talk around the fire, so.
Excellent.
We
Yes,
did.
we did.
It was so perfect.
Excellent.
Yeah.
You also set up the Equalizer in flames, or Nicolas Cage in flames around the fire.
No spoilers, Mike.
Not gonna bring back bees. Have you guys seen the Nicolas Cage Wicker Man?
No, I haven't seen either one, actually, which is,
Oh man, I saw.
it's just sad. I'm
I
going to
was one of the-
Netflix
Scary.
it tonight. I feel so ashamed.
I was one of the few that saw it on opening day, so that's the Nicolas Cage one.
Mike.
And I made
You're dedicated.
because my dad and I loved the Equalizer when we were growing up. And when I was walking around the VHS thing at like the local Century when we were kids, I was like, Dad, let's watch this movie. It was called The Wicker Man. He's like, okay. We had to turn it off halfway through because it was all like pagans and boobs and human sacrifice. And Mom like walks in. She's like, what are you watching? My dad's like, some English BS from the 70s. And she's like, turn it off. Like, for the love of God, Bob, turn it off.
Yeah, he didn't have good parental controls
He didn't care.
on the VHS.
We'll talk about that some more in a little bit.
Yes.
When we bring Bob and Judy back into the podcast. So
That's right.
So you guys,
But it was also an exciting weekend too because we forgot to mention this last week, but I've started my new partial career as a ghost tour guide.
yay! Welcome to the club,
That's
Wendy.
right.
Thanks. So I did a Waukesha ghost tour and guided a group around, which was really fun. And there's some great stories that you have unearthed about the Waukesha area, Mike. So
Thank you.
it's fun sharing those with people, and it's the great season for it.
So Wendy had
Kinds of fun stuff.
had a paranormal weekend. Allison had a paranormal weekend.
The best kind of weekend. And then next weekend will also be paranormal.
Mike had a
I had a parental weekend. For the first time, took the baby out in the stroller, and that was fun.
Aw.
Yeah.
Hey, all right.
Yeah. So everything's going well, and our little girl is just the sweetest. So I've been having fun doing that.
Aw,
And
great.
looking forward to, we're going to give a quick shout out real quick, the Milwaukee Paranormal Conference, October 15th and 16th. It is going to blow your paranormal your spookiest socks. If
Right
you've got,
off.
like I've got spooky socks, I've got skeleton socks, I've got raven socks, and I've got like tombstone socks, and all of my socks are going to be blown off by the party we're going to have at the Milwaukee Paranormal Conference.
You've revealed so much about your closet and your fashion sense on the podcast.
Thank you.
Mike. You know,
Thank
you
you.
know, from,
I do what I can.
I learn. I get a different side of you, like all the Star Trek uniforms you have hanging in your closet. I really had no idea.
Well, I try to make my closet as interesting as I try to be. So that means more costumes than actual outfits.
And speaking of Star Trek, just real quick, we're recording this on Sunday, October 9th, so we want to wish Scott Bakula a happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Scott. So,
We love
if
you,
guys,
Scott.
We do love Scott Bakula. And if you guys are new to the podcast and new to Wendy and I play in a band called Sunspot, and
And everybody knows that, you know, no one can love you like Scott Bakula can love you.
no, you can't. So we released a song about Scott Bakula, and actually it was used for Scott Bakula's 50th birthday party on the set of the Enterprise. So to have our song played on the set of the Enterprise to a Star Trek captain himself means that we can retire as people
we were
who
almost
have,
ready to.
like
We almost had to shut the band down and
Right.
just be done.
Yeah,
Because
you made it.
whatever-
Drop the mic.
like it's I never dreamed about a top 40 hit, but I'll tell you what, I did dream about the Star Trek Enterprise. So that means you win. And that is pretty awesome. So happy birthday to Scott Bakula, 62. You're still a good-looking son of a bee, Scott, if you ask me.
Handsome devil.
He is. So anyway, the Chicago Dark Shores Ghostly Paranormal Conference, you guys got to attend that. There was a ton of ghost tours running around the Midwest. We all had our fingers in those pies
Yeah.
this weekend. And, and
I hope mine's cherry.
but you know what? Of all of the ghost tours running this weekend, there's only one ghost tour that talks about clowns.
Ooh.
That's right.
And that's the hysteria that's hitting America. Clowns. I mean, this year more than ever, people are talking about killer clowns. And I don't even think that regular clowns, like if you are a regular clown, like somebody like walking in the Great Circus Parade, Ernest Borgnine, coming full circle again. If you're a regular clown, you got to be like, oh my God, the jig is up. They know what we're here for.
They know the secret agenda.
Right. And, you know, I always thought that clowns were kind of stupid, but I never thought of them as particularly scary.
Huh?
So when you guys think about your first memories of clowns, what do you guys think of?
That's a good question.
I like birthday parties, clowns making like balloon animals and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
I think about McDonald's birthday parties, like you'd go to.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and you'd have all the orange drink you want, like, oh my God.
And apple
all the
pies.
orange- Yep. Give me some more of that orange drink.
You know, I think mine was just those, you know, like Dayglow portraits of clowns or like velvet paintings of clowns, like from the 70s.
Where would you see I mean, the 70s was a messed up time.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Where would I see it? In the 70s.
Any decade from which I emerged is going to be a messed up time.
Right, absolutely. So I think, you know, maybe just seeing those like starving artist exhibits with these maudlin clowns, I think that's what creeped me out. Because, you you just have a question about the motives, or why is that clown so sad, or what's behind the eyes of the clown? What are the real machinations going on in that brain?
What real face is he making beneath that painted on smile?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess I never thought of clowns as evil until the movie Killer Clowns from Outer Space came out when I was a kid. And that's such a silly movie. I guess they're making a TV show of that movie now. The guys that came up with it, the Chiodos brothers. And that was one of our first Halloween covers of the band, as we covered the song Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Such a great song.
It's such a great song by a band called the Dickies. Dickies, great Southern California punk band from the 80s. But I never thought of clowns as particularly scary. But, I mean, when do you guys think the clowns entered the public imagination as something terrifying?
Well, probably with Stephen King's It. I mean,
yes.
Yeah, when did that book come out?
Well, that book came out in like 1986.
Okay.
But I think that...
But the movie was on TV.
Yeah.
Well, we know then that it was before It. Because speaking of somebody who's coming to the Milwaukee Paracon next week, Lauren Coleman has studied the phantom clown phenomena, and that dates back into the 80s, the early 80s.
Yeah, so let's go into that for a second. So Lauren Coleman is America's Bigfoot expert. He is the cryptozoologist du jour. Like he is the cryptozoologist. I think is a good word.
Right.
So I'm
That's a lot of syllables.
I'm super excited to meet him at the Milwaukee Paranormal Conference because we've been reading his books. I remember when T. Krulos from the Milwaukee Paranormal Conference announced on our show last year for the first time that Lauren Coleman would be one of the big guests at the Milwaukee Paracon.
That was an exciting moment.
It was. And so not only is he the Bigfoot expert, but he is being interviewed all the time now because he's one of the guys that came up with the phantom clown theory. And that came from these sightings that happened in Massachusetts in the early 80s. And where do you think some of that, the genesis of those sightings came from?
Well, I would trace it to John Wayne Gacy because he was convicted of his murders in 1978. So I think that that's close enough. Oh, and the reason I'm mentioning John Wayne Gacy is during the 70s, he did dress up as a clown and work as a clown at children's parties. How disturbing is that? And he also painted clowns. That was his hobby, other than killing people and burying them, killing kids and burying them in his basement. His other hobby was painting clowns. So to me, I mean, that's probably the natural outgrowth from all those news reports of John Wayne Gacy and the horror surrounding the discovery of those 33 people underneath his house
in Chicago.
Yeah.
This is a Chicagoland thing, so you guys were just in the home with John Wayne Gacy.
Yeah, so...
I can smell the face paint on you.
Yeah.
Oh, gross.
Yes, yeah, Cook County, Illinois. He was... He sexually assaulted and murdered at least 33 teenage boys and young men between 1972 and 1978.
And if you guys are looking for a very... a pretty balanced depiction of it, the great actor Brian Dennehy plays John Wayne Gacy in a miniseries about the murders that they filmed in the 1990s. And he dresses up like the clown, does the whole thing. And it's a really balanced perspective 20 years on of the murders. And if you're interested, that's a pretty interesting miniseries to watch that you can find with Brian Dennehy as John Wayne Gacy. And
I misspoke before because actually John Wayne Gacy, he was committing the murders 72 to 78. But his conviction came on March 13th for, let's see, he was actually sentencing for 12 of these killings. He was sentenced to death for 12 of these killings on March 13th of 1980. So
right. So this is a prime time for people to start developing the killer clown thing in their head.
Absolutely.
And John Wayne Gacy was never killed, was he? Like, he wasn't executed.
He was supposed to be executed. Was he executed? This I don't know, but we can easily find out.
Oh, no, he was. Lethal injection in 1994. Okay. Sorry, I thought that was.
Yeah.
I guess because in Wisconsin we don't have the death penalty.
Right.
So to me, it's always like nobody actually gets executed. But
but they do.
in Illinois, they do. Not only what the thing is, what people don't know about Illinois is that if you go through the toll booths without paying, that's a death sentence in Illinois.
What?
So yeah,
Don't
watch
tell
it.
me. No, I have 7 days to pay. I can go
You can
online, right?
spare your own life.
Yes.
Yes, you can spare your own life by going online and paying the 80
this is
cents.
my first time. When I went to the Dark Shores Paracon, my first time driving
Allison.
to Chicago. So I was just like, well, I'm just gonna pay later because it says you can pay later. So I just went right through, and it said I had 7 days. So it's kind of be like The Ring, whereas the end of the 7 days approaches, I get these calls from Illinois, from an Illinois number, and it just says 7 days.
And John Wayne Gacy comes out of your television.
Oh my God! So after I record the podcast, I will get on, and I promise Illinois, I will pay those tolls right away.
Allison, we need you.
So just make sure, and I've done that like a bunch of times. So when you do it, just make sure that you use the exit number. That's just a pro tip. Make sure you take care of the exit number because that's what they use when you're finding the actual you pay for the
I have
tolls.
to pay them individually. I went through a lot of exits. I went through a lot of tolls.
Yeah.
Do you think they're going to make it easy for you to spare your own life?
I had to write them all down because I didn't write them all down. I thought they would just, if I just put in my license plate number, they would know. But I was supposed to be keeping track of that, was I?
Yep. So here's
I'm as good as done for. Dead as a doornail.
Okay. Anyway, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
But you can use a map online. To find all this
Okay. Thank God. All right, I'm saved. So let's go back to John Wayne Gacy in March of 1980. So the idea that the whole phantom clown panic of Boston that came about in 1981, that is not too far off because we know that, for example, just in recent times when like Charlie became that fad, you were talking about it in spring, and then it didn't reach my kids. I teach elementary school. It didn't reach the elementary kids until that following fall. So
oh my goodness! Wow.
But the thing is, it did reach your kid.
It did.
So they did do the Charlie thing.
So it did trickle down, but it took time. And so I think for the whole phantom clown thing to grow out of the John Wayne Gacy situation, it took a little time. But I mean, they're so close together that I really think it almost directly comes from the John Wayne Gacy case.
Well, and John Wayne Gacy was a real life monster, and so you take someone who was a real life monster, and then he does this stuff. He dresses up as a clown, and that's something obviously the media is gonna latch onto because he also did, like, it was teenage boys, not necessarily people who weren't sexually developed. So I don't know if he necessarily was a pedophile, but it was teenage boys that he was attracted to and would murder. And then kids see this stuff, and then they start talking about, like, elementary school kids start seeing the clowns try to lure them into vans in Massachusetts.
Right. That was the legend.
And that's what kicks this whole thing off. And the funny thing is that Lauren Coleman, the cryptozoologist, he's working in Massachusetts at the time. And that's why he came up with this phantom clown theory. Or this idea that now we're scared of clowns because of John Wayne Gacy. And people are seeing things. And little kids reporting stuff. And you know how it is with little kids reporting. Remember on Halloween? Like even our mom, Allison.
Yes.
Like she would check the candy.
Our mom was an exquisite purveyor of horror stories.
She was the deliverer of horror stories. And remember looking through the candy because somebody might put a pin in it?
Or a razor blade.
A razor
blade in
right?
the apples. So you bite it in, you bite into the apple, you'll bite into the razor blade at the same time. Just horrific.
When did your mom ever check for that?
Oh yeah, I remember that scare and the candy bar. Like, this is something about like needles and candy bars or something. I don't know.
Right. Like people are just putting needles in candy bars just to be horrible. No, they're not.
Right. And handing them out at their home when kids come to trick or treat.
Right. Like who would be the family that's like, okay, well, we're going to put some needles in Baby Ruths. And so everybody in the neighborhood, like all the kids eating Baby Ruths, all of a sudden get a needle in their, like in the upper part of their mouth. That person's going to go to jail. So you have all of these legends surrounding Halloween, and you have all this hysteria whenever you're talking about your children. So when kids say they see clowns, and you have the whole child molester luring clowns into vans, or people luring kids into vans kind of thing, it's going to freak people out. And so when kids report to their teacher or call in, like they did in 1981 in Massachusetts, they'd call these things in. Well, the police are going to go nuts on it, because if the police don't act on a child thing, they're going to be fried. And so this leads to the first big modern clowns. And this is funny. This is funny because
funny.
This is 2016,
scary.
and we're all talking as college-educated people, and I'm saying this leads to the first big clown scare of the modern era.
The first one, right. The first of many.
But we're talking about like clowns in pop culture. And we talk about Stephen King's It. And it really was something. Tim Curry's performance. Tim Curry, the actor, obviously brilliant as Dr. Frankenfurter in the Rocky Horror Picture Show. And he's the darkness, the devil in the movie Legend.
Oh, yeah, I love it. He's so talented.
Yeah, Tim Curry, triple threat, dancer, actor, singer, like just brilliant. And then he plays Pennywise the clown in this miniseries that we all, that I saw when I was, 13 years old, and is a huge hit for ABC in like 1990. And it just, people start getting the crap scared out of them by clowns. What's funny though is that Pennywise is not the first murderous clown to be committed to celluloid. In fact, 1987, you get a movie called Blood Harvest, which is a low-budget film.
And this is the one that you were telling us about off air. That's
right.
Awesome.
Okay, so there's this guy named Tiny Tim. And Tiny Tim's like this weird...
Allison, that's so cute.
Tiptoe through the tulips with me. Doesn't it go something like that?
Thank you.
That's not my real singing voice. Sorry, guys.
Yep, and Tiny Tim plays ukulele, and he sings this. He's a massive guy, and he sings in a falsetto. And he got married on The Tonight Show, which was his claim to fame, is that he got married to Miss Vicky on The Tonight Show. And up until the Who Shot JR episode of Dallas and Roots in the late 70s, that him getting married in The Tonight Show was the largest television event of history.
Wow, I didn't know
Right.
that.
Yeah, so it was a huge deal, which is stupid. And also,
Equally stupid
is our parents met Tiny Tim in a Las Vegas hotel elevator in the 1960s, and that's their one.
You brought Bob and Judy back in.
That's their celebrity run-in claim to fame, and this is where it gets more fun. So Tiny Tim is playing this killer clown in the movie.
It could get more fun.
It can't get more fun. So Tiny Tim is playing the killer clown in the movie Blood Harvest, which is directed by a low-budget horror legend, Bill Rebane. And so the female protagonist of Blood Harvest, the Scream Queen, is none other than Wisconsin lottery starlet Lisa Minetti. So, okay, to explain this to anybody out of state. So we had Wisconsin lottery. We didn't have the lottery in Wisconsin until the late 1980s. So whenever you wanted to play the lottery, you had to drive to Illinois. You had to go across the border to do it. And so we used to do that and go across the border to play the lottery whenever it was some big thing.
Big jackpot.
Yeah, big jackpot. We drive across the border. Okay. So once the lottery...
Wow, they're getting quite an insight into our childhood. Inappropriate movies, gambling, horror stories.
Man, that sounds like a fun family.
It was a fun family. But the thing is, Wisconsin Lottery then had a show on Saturday night where they'd spin the wheel, and they even had it was a little game show. And I never remembered the guy that hosted it, but the woman, they had a Vanna White. Her name was Lisa Minetti, and she played the Scream Queen in the movie Blood Harvest with Tiny Tim.
Wow.
Okay, now we want to connect this to Bob and Judy?
Please do. I'd love to know how you could connect this.
She's got a twin sister named Lori, and Lori was an interior decorator at Ethan Allen on Highway 100 in Milwaukee. And Lori Minetti is the one who ended up doing the decoration of our parents' house when they remodeled it in
Oh
1990.
my gosh.
So
The
it-
6 degrees of Mike Huberty
Right,
is complete.
it all comes full circle, and I'm gonna have to put a link to this in the show notes tomorrow because the Minetti sisters also wrote a fantasy novel and released it in 2015.
But does it involve clowns?
Well, I don't know if it involves clowns, but obviously Lori Minetti has been hunted by Tiny Tim as a clown himself
That's
in the movie
right.
Blood Harvest.
And if you go to our parents' house, you'll see these big day glow clowns everywhere because of Lori Minetti's her
The
her
Minetti
trauma.
sisters.
Her trauma was worked out through art, the art of interior design.
The art of interior design.
Okay, we kid.
Our house looks like the Great Circus Parade.
we kid, but in the 70s they did have huge orange
Huge.
mushrooms in the kitchen. So that was the thing that we looked at with every day while eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Were these
Allison.
huge, oversized mushrooms in the kitchen. Yep.
and that must explain why you love mushrooms so much.
It is,
Oh my
'cause
God.
You do love mushrooms.
She is like obsessed
I think
with
we're
mushrooms.
making like a breakthrough here. I feel
this has been a good session.
yeah, it's a good session.
But our kitchen did look like something out of Lewis Carroll because
Except
it was like
very orange.
very orange, like orange mushrooms and butterflies and like olive green things. And our parents are about the squarest people possible. Like they're not flower children. They're not. I mean, it really is like our father was like this uptight guy from the 1950s, like Joe Friday from Dragnet, and Judy is this.
True. It's all true.
And Judy's this virginal Catholic who's never drank more than 2 drinks at a time in her life. And when she does, she's like, I'm feeling flush, everybody. So the idea that they have these weird orange mushrooms and butterflies was great. Okay.
All right. So now that we know everything about your childhood
Yeah.
and your parents'
And we connected,
interior design,
let's connect
taste.
it to the Attack of the Clowns again. Because the thing is, it's like this is not the first time we've had some kind of strange clown hysteria. So it happened in Massachusetts in 1981. And then it kicks off again in the late 2000s. This happens in 2013 in Northampton, UK, United Kingdom. There's this guy that just doesn't do anything harmful or whatever, but just dresses up as a clown when people drive by him.
Yeah, he freaks people out because he's out there on the road. This lonely clown doesn't look
right
too
in a
happy.
strange place where no one expects him.
Right.
That's the thing. It's not in front of a party store or in front of Chuck E. Cheese or something like that. It's
Yeah.
just in a random.
It's in the dark at
Location.
night on the street, lurking in the shadows.
And so that happens in the UK, and then let's bring it back to Wisconsin because then the whole US phenomenon kicks off in 2015 in November, where Wendy just did her ghost tour. Wendy, tell us a little bit about that scary clown in Waukesha.
Well, kind of the same situation, just a random clown in an unexpected place at an unexpected time, waving at passersby.
Yeah, they're like, why is there a clown waving at me? And this happens in November of 2015. This is somebody that's got some disabilities, the developmental challenge.
But nobody knew that at the time. So what happened was, people started posting about it online, and then it kind of swept the internet as, who is this mysterious person dressed as a clown for no apparent reason?
Yeah, and that's how it kicked off in the UK in 2013 is through Facebook, people like reporting on the clown.
And Facebook is funny, and the internet is funny because we have access to the real truth at any time. So if you want to find out, Snopes.com is literally 5 key presses away at any time.
It's so, yeah.
Yet people will see something on their Facebook wall and they'll be like, oh my God. And they won't do any research. They won't do anything. I just saw this yesterday. We do the theme song to the TV show, The Deadersons in Rockford.
Oh, yeah.
Which is also it's about to be on the air in Kenosha, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that more in November when we do a show with them. But so there was this thing that went on the internet yesterday as Rockford as the most dangerous city in the country, right? It was
Really?
a joke. Yeah. No, it was a joke article.
Oh, yeah. But nobody
So
nobody got the joke because they only looked at the headline. Is that right, Mike?
Yeah.
That's exactly
Clickbait.
right. The whole click, when you clicked in, it was actually that Rockford was the most dangerous city for geese or something like that in the United States. I mean, it was something dumb. But the whole idea was that everybody's like, oh yeah, Rockford's totally dangerous, man. Watch yourself when you go to the Rock. And all that kind of stuff. And you're like, get out of here. You read the article, and that's the whole thing with the clowns. They see some kind of scary clown thing, and they think there's somebody dressed up like Ronald McDonald running around stabbing people, when it's just some kid who, needs a friend or whatever, standing at the side of the road, waving at people as a clown.
Right, and Ronald McDonald
Trying to
is
brighten
just-
people's day.
just killing us slowly with the hamburgers.
Right. No, Ronald McDonald's killing us with corn syrup and arterial sclerosis.
That's right. So he is evil. He's just, not very quick about it.
But the sad thing is the kid is not even dressed up as a scary clown. He's just a clown, because now we have our Halloween haunted houses and things that are chock full of just the killer clowns from outer space style of clown, where they just look intentionally
Right.
horrific.
Yeah.
But this kid is just dressed up like a clown. And so it's just the deep-seated fear, the coulrophobia,
Ooh.
Yes.
if you will, which is the actual term for fear of clowns that is so prevalent apparently, that people just see this clown, not even mean looking, waving at people, being nice and friendly, and that launches hysteria basically. It's kind of
Well,
unbelievable.
and that is just scary because it shows that people aren't applying any kind of critical thinking. They're just having a knee-jerk reaction and going to the negative right away.
Well, it's funny when you said the coulrophobia. We're talking about clowns. It makes me remember something that I forgot about. That one of the legendary movies that have never been released is by Jerry Lewis. So you guys know Jerry Lewis,
Oh yeah, lady.
right? Jerry.
Oh yeah,
Jerry Lewis, the absurd comedian.
Isn't he very popular in France?
Yeah, right.
I gotta
That was
check
the,
that
that
on-
was the joke from the
I-
1990s that he was
yeah.
popular in France.
Got to check that on Snopes. But
But the thing is about
that's the
Jerry
legend.
Lewis is he directed a movie called The Day the Laughter Died, and it was about a clown in a concentration camp. And this is a decade before Life is Beautiful, Roberto Benigni. Remember that
Oh,
movie?
Yeah.
And so he directs
I
this.
love everybody.
Yeah.
Right, I kiss you. So a decade before, a while before, he directs this movie off this script, and the clown in a concentration camp, and then once he's getting to the editing phase, and he realizes this is a horribly misbegotten idea. Like, this is the worst idea ever. He buys the whole film. Jerry Lewis buys the whole film of this clown
Wow.
and makes sure that it's never seen by anybody.
Aww.
Ooh.
The day the laughter
Spared
died.
people.
Like, it was
from
such.
it.
He realized it was in such poor taste that he decided never to do it. And what made me think about that was I thought about, we talk about coulrophobia, and people talk about like the kind of movies, like clowns are never even portrayed as something funny anymore. It is always just horror. Like Rob Zombie's House of a Thousand Corpses, the legendary character actor Sid Haig plays an evil clown.
Sometimes they're just jerks, though. They sneak in the scene and like blast like sparkling water at people.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like they're like doing the little prank thing, like ha ha ha, I gotcha.
It almost seems like
That
it
doesn't
would be-
necessarily mean they're evil, Wendy. Just because they have a squirting flower, or they might
I know,
set out
but
a
it's-
banana peel. They're not really
It's
looking for you to get a head wound.
It's still a jerk move.
It is a jerk move, but I would say clowns are more of portrayed as monsters in all kinds of culture now than they're portrayed as something harmless. Think about the movies that have come out. Shakes the Clown, Bobcat Goldthwait as like a evil clown. Krusty the Clown from The Simpsons is like a chain smoking, hard drinking, old
Crusty clown.
crusty borscht belt comedian clown. Bill Murray in Quick Change, he plays a clown that robs a bank. That's the only movie Bill Murray ever directed. So, like, clowns are never portrayed as anything nice, and they haven't been portrayed as anything nice for at least a couple of decades. So the
So
idea,
are you saying they're getting a bad rap?
what I'm saying is that I think clowns is something that creates joy, has had a smaller time in the public consciousness than clowns is something terrifying.
Yeah.
So we talk about the phantom clown thing. Like almost all of our entire life, if anybody ever said to you, I like clowns, nobody's ever said that. Nobody has ever said to you.
I'm a big fan of clowns.
Right.
There's probably some. Oh, never mind.
Yeah, probably
Perverted, like
some weirdo. Right. There's probably something.
fetish or something.
Right. Instead of chorophobia, it's chorophilia. You know? That's like, oh yeah, I just want to do it with clowns.
Oh, come on, Mike.
Well, they got, you know what they say about guys with big feet?
Okay, I already got one in.
They wear big shoes.
All right.
That's what they say, Wendy.
We had to get some joke in there. And also, the Clown Shoes Brewery does make my favorite type of beer. They have a dark beer from Clown Shoes Brewery. And that's also a Massachusetts brewery, Clown Shoes. So, connection?
Oh.
So many connections.
Is their marketing like, does the marketing make the clowns look fun? Like fun-loving, beer-drinking clowns, or are they like scary too?
No, the Clown Shoes have like zombie clowns and stuff like. So they go in it too. So the whole thing, like nobody.
They go dark with it.
Yeah, everybody goes dark. There hasn't been like regular fun clowns in my lifetime that I remember, and we can thank John Wayne Gacy for that, or we can just say that it's more of an urban legend that clowns are not scary than it is that they are scary.
Well, I, in my lifetime, do remember clowns being fun because my brother and sister and I dressed up as clowns and we were in the 4th of July parade, like, riding our bikes
Aww.
in clown outfits.
I just got a
That's
visual.
nice.
That is adorable.
And we were happy little clowns. We were happy
That
little
sounds
clowns.
nice.
We were not evil.
So you didn't have like hatchets and sickles or anything like that?
No,
Or
no.
fake
And it was
blood.
fun.
But the thing is, so this year it's taken off. So I mean, we're talking about the clowns as friendly or whatever. Like that's this year. The people are fighting back. Okay, so these rumors of weird clowns. So people are dressing up as clowns and and hanging out like this guy in Waukesha did last year. Except that guy in Waukesha really was just some lonely weirdo. What's happening here is Green Bay, June of this year. You get Gags the Clown. There's a guy walking around the streets of Green Bay, like just randomly, and people are freaking out, and it makes the national news. I remember I put it.
But it was an evil looking clown too.
Yeah, it wasn't.
I feel like we need to clarify because the Waukesha clown was like a happy looking normal clown.
Sure.
Yes,
And this guy was like dressed up straight up killer clowns.
and
from outer
speaking
space.
of lonely weirdos, they're some of our favorite people. We should just say that.
Yeah, no question. I love weirdos. I am a weirdo. So in Green Bay, though, this clown starts showing up, and this makes the national news. In fact, before we knew the truth about it, I put it in the See You on the Other Side paranormal newsletter, which you should all be subscribed to, and you can
Smooth, Mike.
at othersidepodcast.com/subscribe is where you can find it. And then where you
That's
can
true.
you can get the 5 top paranormal stories every week, plus a cool paranormal song every week. But so this happens in Green Bay, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, the clowns are coming for us!" And then they find out that it's a setup for a movie, and they had used this as like they were
not cool.
right. So they were filming this for the movie, and we're gonna talk more about that in a little bit about this movie in Green Bay, Gags the Clown. But this is what kicks it off this summer. So then we start getting copycat clown sightings in different states. And this starts happening all over the country. And in South Carolina, well, that's when it starts getting serious. Because people are just like Gags the Clown, just sat in the corner, like the clown in Waukesha, just sat in the corner, waved to people and stuff like that. But kids start reporting in Greensboro, North Carolina, that the clowns are trying to lure kids into the woods with money. Okay? That's what's getting reported to the police. Okay, so what's happening is it's activating the same kind of spidey sense for parents that things did in 1981 in Massachusetts. And people are like, oh my God, the clowns are coming for our kids. And whenever people think that something's going to happen to their children, they go guano. They go straight up crazy. And that's what happens in South Carolina. And the police start issuing warnings. They're like, yeah, we have to go investigate this clown stuff. And this now, okay, clowns are after our kids. People start, just weirdos start dressing up like clowns all over the country. There's sightings everywhere. 2 weeks ago, there's a sighting at Penn State. This one goes like viral on their Twitter and stuff, and people start saying like, "Oh my God, there's a clown at Penn State." They start forming hunting parties to go after to beat the clown down.
Like a posse? A clown posse?
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of clown posse, what about the connection with the Juggalos, the gathering of the Juggalos?
Juggalos.
Insane clown posse.
Yeah, that also happened. Well, it was reported on July 25th, 2016. They want to actually have a protest in D.C. 2017, the weekend of September 17th. They're looking for some kind of march. It says we're going to do a march on Washington.
Like the Million Clown March?
Yeah.
Oh,
And this is supposed to be coming up September 17th next year, so we'll have to see if that happens. They call the Juggalo World Movement, right? Well, let's move.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Well,
that's a quote.
I mean,
Stone.
I've known a lot of Juggalos. The thing about the Insane Clown Posse, and to explain it to anybody who hasn't heard of them, they're like a horrorcore rap group from the late 90s. So horrorcore is
that
rap.
is a very difficult to say word.
Yes, and it's a very
Horrorcore.
unique genre of hip hop. So it comes out of just people singing about horrific kind of things, just rapping about it. It's kind of like the Misfits is to punk rock, like singing about horror movies and stuff. That's what the Insane Clown Posse is to rap. And the first time horrorcore ever kind of went mainstream is to the soundtrack to this movie called Tales from the Hood, which was like a very like an African-American centered horror film from the mid-90s. And then they had a whole bunch of horrorcore rap songs on the soundtrack. Insane Clown Posse comes from that same kind of, they're not black guys, they're white guys dressed up as clowns. But that comes from the same kind of tradition. Now they've created this like huge following of people called Juggalos. Juggalos dress up like clowns. They get Insane Clown Posse tattoos, and it's basically a way to make your parents angry. Is kind of what being a Juggalo is. And we have plenty of Juggalo friends.
Yes. So we're not making war.
Some of my best friends are Juggalos.
Let's make it clear we are not making war on the Juggalos, but we're just reporting. So please don't hold us accountable for anything.
And speaking of crazy things that happen in Illinois, the gathering of the Juggalos every year, where Insane Clown Posse has a massive, like, big crystal meth party in the middle of Illinois. The gathering of Juggalos also happens in the land of Lincoln.
Interesting.
So we talk about the crazy things that happen, like the the lethal injection that happens if you miss the tolls. Also, the gathering of Juggalos happens in Illinois every single year.
Yeah, well, let's talk about actual threat assessment related to this. So in its 2011, I'm reading from Rolling Stone here, National Gang Threat Assessment, the FBI described Juggalos as a, quote, loosely organized hybrid gang, unquote. And then the Insane Clown Posse subsequently sued the federal police and the U.S. Department of Justice in 2004 to make them remove the classification, but a federal judge dismissed the suit. The duo was granted a chance to appeal in September 2015. So it's interesting that there is some gang classification. So actual threat assessment having to do with a clown-related band.
That's funny. I would never think about the Juggalos as actually a gang, as just a bunch of like people that like to party and do crazy things. You know, the thing is that, I mean, Insane Clown Posse appeals to what a lot of people would just call white trash, and that's a social group that is deemed okay to make fun of or whatever. And so these guys are just regular people, like Juggalos and Juggalettes out there. and I am not a fan of Insane Clown Posse's music, but I find myself trying to defend their followers. But it's just, it's just something that's popular, and it's a way for people to rebel and have fun and things, and drink Faygo soda is their big thing. They drink a lot of Faygo. No, Faygo soda is the official soda of the Juggalos.
Now, why is that? Why would you have? I mean, do they have a sponsorship with Faygo?
No.
I mean,
it's extra carbonated, so they can put it through the flour, like squirting
and
thing.
it'll actually like put out an eye.
Yeah.
Because of that
So now-
extra carbonation, right, Wendy?
Exactly.
Now I find myself defending the Juggalos, but the thing is, they are part of a social group that is deemed in America okay to make fun of. So people will make fun of it, and it will
Yeah,
be, and
that's true.
and then the FBI is looking at them too, like, okay, well, they must be crystal meth. And I made a crystal meth joke earlier in this podcast myself about
You
the Juggalos.
did.
So I am just as guilty as
Shame.
anybody else.
Oh
Yeah.
boy.
Okay, but the thing is, I know we're running out of time here, but this has gone beyond, and the Wisconsin connection too. For the love of Christ, what is happening in Wisconsin? That in
Yeah.
Milwaukee, you get 2 juvenile girls arrested for making clown-related threats using social media in southeastern Wisconsin, copying dozens of similar incidents around the country.
Yeah, I just want to interject and say before that, in Virginia, though, there was a girl who actually approached a person through social media that had, their profile picture as a clown, and she wanted to hire that person to kill her teacher. So, now we, as teachers, have to, of course, watch out for maniacs who might come into the school, but they might also be dressed as clowns. So,
Well, just the fact that somebody would think to hire a clown as a hitman.
yes, but the cool thing though is this was a regular law-abiding clown, and of course the clown reported it to police. So
One of the good ones.
This girl was arrested, but as you're saying, there's been similar threats, right here in Wisconsin near Milwaukee.
It's just crazy that now that people. So I mean, Kewaskum Police Chief Tom Bishop tells WTMJ the teen was arrested for making terrorist threats, and a 12-year-old girl in West Bend is arrested for making clown threats by text messaging. So
Right,
people are.
Yeah, let me just interject. They said they were going to hire these clowns to actually shoot up schools.
And what's funny here is that no crimes actually committed, and people are arrested for just talking. Like little girls are being arrested for just talking about making clowny threats. Like, first of all, where is a 12-year-old girl gonna get the kind of money to hire a clown to kill up people? I mean, what does she have in her piggy bank that she's gonna convince some clown to be like, yeah, I should go shoot up a place? So this is just, it's getting ridiculous to the point of people using clowns as some kind of strange boogeyman this year.
Yeah.
And the thing is, pranksters are now getting into it because they're like, yeah, we're going to be crazy clowns. And, but there was a clown threat down lockdown in Tennessee last month.
That's
So
right.
that happened near Nashville, is that 2 schools were locked down after reports of clowns seen inside. Who are these clowns where we have to shut down schools?
And it's interesting, too, that even before that, in the South, there were reports of, kids reporting seeing clowns in the woods, coming out and trying to attack them. And that became a big phenomena on Twitter. So, it's just really nationwide at this point.
And when you combine social media with kids, with people's hysteria over their kids, then you have the clown hysteria of 2016, with some people having this idea that creepy clowns are coming for their children. And we know that the only real clown killer out there is Tiny Tim, tiptoeing through the tulips of death.
But I have to sing it again. Tiptoe through the tulips. That's all I know, really. I mean, I've never actually listened to the whole song because why would you?
That's all we need. It's perfect.
like
The New York
torture.
Times. The New York Times last week. 12 people have been arrested facing charges of making false reports or threats of chasing people. So we've had arrests with this clown hysteria. In LaGrange, Georgia, you get a report of people dressed as clowns standing near a white van. Again, we're talking about the white van. Well, what are white vans known for? They're known for carrying bands and for molesting children.
Free candy.
Right. When authorities interviewed the person who called into the sightings, Brandon Moody, 26, said he admitted to making up the story. And he implicated his sister-in-law, Rebecca Moody, in calling 911 about seeing clowns. So Brandon Moody not only is a liar, he's also a rat. But I mean, this is going, and the police are saying this is not cute or funny. Understand that if officers see this behavior, you're going to have to talk to them about it. September 15th, Flomaton, Alabama, 65 miles northeast of Mobile. They say they have credible threats to students at the high school via Facebook belonging to Flomo Clown or Shoot a Clown. So people on Facebook are getting threats from like strange clown accounts. And this whole thing, I mean, a lot of this is happening in the South. Virginia, Alabama, Annapolis, Maryland. I mean, Annapolis, Maryland does not feel like the South, but don't forget Maryland is south of the Mason-Dixon line. Reading, Pennsylvania. A 16-year-old boy is fatally stabbed after a confrontation that may have been provoked by a prowler wearing a clown mask. So this is in the New York Times, the paper of record, the Gray Lady. I mean, people are seeing not this is a hoax, but somebody's getting stabbed. Police are reporting, and people are being arrested. So here's the thing: if you are listening to this podcast and thinking about dressing up as a clown, do so at your own peril.
Don't do it.
You will be stabbed. So do not do it.
Wow.
Yeah, and
do not do it.
Clown costumes been banned in some communities. I know some schools have done so, and maybe for good reason. You know, maybe they're thinking just what you're thinking, Mike. That people will want to dress as a clown and get in trouble with somebody who's not using little things.
Yeah. Oh, October 6th, creepy clown gets beat up with a baseball bat in U.S. video.
Oh my. What?
And
No.
this goes viral. People are dressing up like a clown for jokes, and they think it's going to be funny, and then people kick their butts and beat them with a bat. And this is the Daily Mail's a UK site,
Serious.
so people are and they're uploading the videos on YouTube and Facebook and Vine.
And, just because you're afraid of something doesn't mean you need to violently harm the
Right.
person. You know.
Right.
And that's the message. That's the message of every science fiction work ever. Just because you are afraid of it does not mean that it's trying to harm you.
Don't beat it up.
So that's the point. So the thing is, are clowns scary? The answer is yes.
Affirmative.
Are clowns really trying to hurt us? The answer is probably not.
That's right. And Stephen King, are you going to go into that next, Mike? So Stephen King, we talked about it before, and Stephen King has even quoted out or tweeted out, I should say. On October 3rd, he said, "Hey guys, time to cool the clown hysteria. Most of them are good. Cheer up the kiddies, make people laugh." So it's just gotten to the point where he felt that he needed to comment.
Right. That even the master of macabre, Stephen King, has to say, and the man that created clown nightmares for more people than anyone in history has now said, "Hey dudes, chill out with the clowns." So that's a good message. And, and I think that this leads well we're talking about fictional clowns. This leads well into our quick interview with, well, arguably the person that kicked off the clown hysteria this summer. And that is the director of the Gags the Clown film, which will also be shown at the Milwaukee Paranormal Conference this upcoming weekend, October 15th and 16th in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We'll have notes for that in the podcast. We'll all be there doing some awesome stuff. Wendy and I will be interviewing Katrina from Paranormal Lockdown. Allison, what are you going to be doing?
Oh, well, I'm gonna be presenting on Milwaukee Floridiana. Got a lot of news stories about Wisconsin and Milwaukee, specifically ghosts, UFOs, and also a lot on local exorcisms, as we've touched on before in the podcast. I'll also be having a panel called "Yow, My Business is Haunted." So we'll be hearing from some local business owners about their experience with ghostly activity, and we'll talk about how being haunted has affected either for profit, for good or for ill. We'll be addressing that on Sunday. Yeah, lots of great stuff.
And Wendy and I will also be playing at the Ravens Ball. Some acoustic songs on that too. So anyway, Milwaukee Paranormal Conference next week. This is also your first chance to get to see the movie that kicked off the entire clown hysteria this summer, Gags the Clown.
And so our good friend Cactus Joe of the band The Guppy Effect, a great band that you can check out at guppyeffect.info, was up at the Oshkosh Horror Film Festival this weekend. And he interviewed the creator of Gags the Clown. So let's have a listen to that interview.
Hi, Mike and Wendy. This is Cactus Joe reporting live from the Time Community Theater in Oshkosh, where I'm at the Northeast Wisconsin Horror Film Fest. And I just watched a great short film called Gags about the creepy clown that you may have heard in the news media. And I'm talking right now to Adam Krause. I'm just going to ask him a few questions real quick. He's busy grand-handing people here and selling T-shirts, so I'll be quick about it. So you directed and wrote this film. What was your inspiration for it?
The inspiration came from previous stories I had heard back a couple years ago in 2013 and 2014 of clown roaming. It was first heard about a guy in England who would dress up as a clown and go out in city streets and bait people to take pictures of him. And, of course, it blew up social media, and then there was a clown out in Staten Island and then in Wasco, California. And some of them turned out to be, hoaxes. Or the one in California was a photographer who was just doing like a art assignment. But some of them aren't explained. And that just really interested me a couple years ago. And I thought Hollywood, honestly, would take this idea and run with it because I thought it was just a really cool idea for a horror film, but nothing was coming out, and I had written Gags, and I kind of liked the direction it went, so I told myself it was going to be my next project.
Great. And Gags has also blown up in the local news media around Wisconsin and the Midwest. What do you think about the dramatic response that it's received?
It's been crazy. I mean, it's we released those pictures, and I mean, the cast and crew had a contingency plan where if no one cared, we would share the pictures a couple times, and then we just announced the movie a day later. But people cared about those pictures, and they started getting shared on social media and spreading. And before we knew it, national television outlets were covering it, and even, outside of the country. I mean, it got so crazy. I still can't even put it in the words how crazy the whole thing got. So
I saw it a few months ago, and I was like, what's this all about? And I didn't even know about Gags then.
Yeah, it was nuts, man.
So what do you think makes clowns so creepy, and why is there so much negative attention to them right now?
I don't know. Obviously, after the Gags pictures went viral, there's been a lot of craziness going on in the country. But as far as what makes a clown scary, I don't know. I mean, they personally never really scared me. But that being said, they can be scary in the right context. I don't know. Maybe Stephen King, when they did Stephen King's It for TV in 1990 and Tim Curry's Pennywise, maybe that just changed an entire generation of people into being afraid of clowns. Maybe that's what did it. I don't know, but they can be creepy. So
yeah, definitely. All right, final question. This is what everybody wants to know. Does Gags do children's birthday parties?
Gags only comes out at night. So the only way he would consider doing a children's birthday party is if it was held at night. So
maybe vampire children.
There you go.
Okay, well, thanks, Adam Krause.
Yeah, no problem, man. Yep.
This is for the See You on the Other Side podcast.
One of the interesting things about this particular clown hysteria going on this Halloween season is that people aren't really taking it lying down. If they hear about a clown in the street on social media or Facebook, especially in colleges, they'll go out and hunt the clowns down. So this is a warning. Don't dress up as a clown. Don't pull the prank, because it's open season on clowns out there. And that's the inspiration for the song this week. This song's called Clown Season.
Surprise, every place we look we find
It's on the news, danger in every corner. We don't care if it's all in fun. You come by a kid, you'll be sorry you did, 'cause this mob is out for blood. It's no joke, I won't go to the place where we all float. Turn your frown upside down and send in the clowns. We're gonna burn this big top down. You ain't funny, you ain't cute. This time the joke's on you. We don't need a reason for hunting season, the crusty crackdown. We're coming for the clown. We're coming for the clowns. The joke's on you.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. You can find us online at othersidepodcast.com. Until next time, see you on the other side.
Oh yeah, I just want to do it with clowns.
Oh, come on, Mike.
Hey, this is a quick weekly shout out to our Patreon supporter, Ned, who's at the level that gets a personal shout each week. And also thanks to all of our Patreon supporters. You guys are helping us out huge. And if you'd like to help us out huge, you can do so at othersidepodcast.com/donate. Thanks for taking the time to listen. Have a great week, and we will catch you next week.